Hey guys, Andrew with the Roof Tiger here. This week on the podcast, we've got another great episode for you guys. Michy Maloof, the owner of Skullman Fitness, stopped by to chat with Ben. If you don't already follow her on social media, you don't know, Michy is a spark plug of a person, and her team over at Skullman embodies that wholeheartedly. I cannot speak highly enough about them and the programming that they've built over there. Ben and I both work out there. These workouts will kick your butt. So if you're looking for something new, just to kind of switch things up, or maybe you got to get back in shape in general, this is definitely the place for you to go. Check them out. Their team is amazing. Workouts are hard, but it's a team-oriented environment, so it's fun. Again, you guys are going to love it. Can't speak highly enough about her and her team over at Sculpt Mode. Her and Ben had an amazing conversation. I think you guys are really going to dig it. Check it out.
2, 1. Michy Maloof.
Hello.
Welcome to the Tiger Den podcast.
It's an honor, truly.
I love your merch. You created the sweatshirt you have on right there, right?
I did, yes.
And the favorite color of all the people that come to Sculpt Mode, is it the gray? I've seen the green.
Everyone loves this mauve color. It's like
the pinkish,
so
right?
the pinkish one. It's like a mauve, like a dusty pink. It's cool though. And then we have this grayish black that everyone loves.
Full disclosure, I'm in love with your business.
Thanks.
I love Skullman Fitness. I've been not working out for like my entire life. And when I discovered Sculpt Mode, I found it's just a really good team atmosphere, which being an athlete previously, like I really crave that. And I feel like it's a really good team, kind of like a CrossFit, but I tried CrossFit, just wasn't my thing.
Sure.
No hate to any CrossFit people out there.
None. Yeah.
What was kind of the inspiration behind Skullman Fitness? Was it something along those lines?
Yes and no. So it really was created to do something it was created as a program, actually, a 6-week program. That's how we initially started it as. And to just jumpstart you back into fitness. And so we were going to throw out like pretty tough kettlebell, dumbbell workouts, bands that like challenge you in new ways.
Yeah.
But also you see major fat loss from. So it was created as a 6-week program, and then everyone loved it. So they wanted to keep coming back and coming back. So we are a full-fledged gym. Yeah. So we call ourselves a fitness boutique, but we have memberships, we have drop-ins, we have, punch cards, all that fun stuff. But it started off as a little 6-week program.
Is it cool to see something you created become like other people's favorite thing?
Yes. It doesn't even feel real sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say, sometimes you make a class, you come to a class, you choreograph a class, but you don't know how this class is going to change someone's day, or if they've had a difficult time right before class, and then this was just their release, just what they needed to feel a little bit better. And we've actually had feedback that like these workouts have changed people's lives. And that to me, like it hits me right in the ticker, because that's what it's all about, is the community building aspect of it, which CrossFit does a great job of that. But we are there to build a family, create a community of like-minded people, but also get your booty kicked. And there's kind of this like camaraderie with it, because we're all in pain together, and we're getting through this together, and we're, that's kind of how it started off and how it's going.
That's so cool. And when you first started Sculpt Mode in the very beginning, as you said, you started it as kind of like a 6-week course, and then it just kind of transformed. What are some of the hardest things as you evolve your business as you go? What's kind of like one of the toughest things you have to get through because you originally had the idea of Sculpt Mode, 5-6 years ago? Well,
yes and no. So we started off, I had a studio. So it was a Pilates and yoga studio. And we did have some high-intensity interval type of classes that we would call Sculpt Mode classes. But I didn't really realize like my true calling was to create these really fun, just authentic workouts that incorporate, yes, mobility, but also just take your fitness to the next level. So it actually started off there, to be completely honest. We started off there, and it was, it was kind of stagnant, and so the biggest thing is, when you start a business, sometimes you think it's one thing, but I think one of the toughest, but also the coolest parts of being a business owner is that learning how to pivot And learning yourself over the years as a business owner, you get to know yourself really well.
Big time.
And if you're doing something for other people or you're doing something out of the trueness of your heart. And when I started this business, I started these workouts, these classes, because that's all I knew. And that's what I thought Peoria needed, was like more yoga, more Pilates, and that's what they knew, or less meals. Like that's all that they knew in Peoria. And I created the 6-week program because I thought, okay, summer's coming up. I think we need just a fun program where I can pull like my nutritional training. I can pull in, some other coaches who have the background in like boot camp style fitness, and let's just have a fun one-time program, one and done, and then do it next summer. But after that 6-week program, everyone was like, when's the next one? I'm like, what do you mean? You want to come back? You want to do it again, like in a couple weeks? So just pivoting and learning that to listen to your customer base and learning that we can be authentic together and grow together. But if you're stuck in one way, if you're just stuck in your own way, you're not going to grow. And that's going to be the biggest hurdle. You know what I mean?
So true.
Yeah.
I think listening to my team has become more and more of a habit. And in the beginning, you're like, this is my baby. It's my idea. It has to be this way.
Yes.
But the more that I listen to my team, it is. Stop it, Ben. But the more you listen to your customers and to your people, the more that the idea just naturally flows and gets better and better.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And you're not going to lose out on what you want to do because you're obviously you're doing the same business. But if they have opinions, if they are listening to your customers and your customers want, more mobility work, or they want, heavier weights, like, yes, I'm going to listen to you. Like, you got to pivot. You got to learn.
Let's take it back a little bit. We jumped right into the business.
Yeah.
Take a little back. Were you always into fitness as a kid, and were you always going to, as an athlete and growing up, is that kind of your thing?
Well, I was always an athlete.
Yeah.
But I got into dance in a really big way. That's kind of how I found Pilates and yoga, because I danced competitively for a really long time.
Really?
Yeah, and then I taught dance for a very long time, and I loved it, but I injured myself, and I was actually told that there was a part in my vertebrae that was just out, and it always kept popping out. And like, I think I remember being like 17 years old. I like walked into my parents' room one day, and I just like fell to my knees because if it would go out a little bit, it would make me drop to my knees, and I couldn't even get up. Like, I couldn't walk.
That painful?
Yes. And so my chiropractor at the time told me, like, you need to stop dancing, and you're only going to be able to use the treadmill, and you're only going to be able to do light stretches, no heavy lifting, ever. I was like, okay, let me
not
question
do that.
No, exactly. So you cannot tell me what to do. You can't. And so what I did was I researched core work and back work and ways to strengthen my back, and it's actually through your core. So that's some of the best ways to strengthen your low back is to strengthen your core. And so Pilates is what I found. So Pilates was actually created for injured dancers back in the day by Joe Pilates. He created this workout for injured dancers to continue to keep their muscle tone, but not having to do any jumping or leaping or turns. So I dove into that because of my dance background. I got really good at it and got a certification in standing Pilates, which is called bar, and that became what I started to teach at studios, and then I taught it when I was in college. And so I've always loved movement, and I felt that there was always, with dance or even just running or working out, there's a release. There's that mental release that you get, and that was what I've always loved about it. But yeah, I've always been in it, but once I started to realize that you can really heal yourself through movement is when I dove in. Yeah.
It's so true. And having been to your classes, it's been what, 8-9 months now. I've always been I've always been an athlete all my life, but I've never worked out, quite literally.
Interesting.
I know. Like in high school, I dabbled. In college, never. I was a Division III tennis player, but never worked out in 4 years to play tennis. I just played the sport. Just loved to play. And I never wanted to be the guy in the gym that was the biggest, lifting the most weights. Hated that mentality.
Okay.
Hated it.
Yeah.
And so when I found your gym, it was like, it keeps me toned, but it also is like a very athletic thing to do a lot of the moves, right?
Right.
So it's like a sport inside life that I can go to every day, right?
Yeah. Well, what else is pretty cool is you don't know what you're going to get
That's right.
at any class.
That's
so
right.
you can show up, it's upper body day, but you don't know what Christine or Becca's going to throw at you.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, you don't know what they're going to throw at you. So you show up, but you know that you're going to get your butt handed to you. And it's going to be tough every single time, but it's challenging in a way, kind of like an athlete, like, okay, I accomplished it, and you can feel that sense of accomplishment after you show up.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, raise your hand out there if you went to a gym, you wouldn't know what the heck to do. Mm-hmm. That's me. It's like, I would just kind of guess and follow other people's movements and Google something and just try to work through it.
Yeah.
I would not nearly have the pace that I would have and burn the calories and actually get the right workout in, right?
That makes sense. Yeah,
So,
we see a lot of that. And
yeah.
a lot of people who just like to be motivated. They want to show up, and that's all they have to think about, is just showing up. And then the cool thing about it is we get to know you as our clients. We get to know you in each class. And so if you're pulling weight that we know that you can lift a little bit heavier, we're just going to drop 5 pounds heavier in front of you. We're just going to leave them there, and we're going to push you in that way that maybe you wouldn't necessarily push yourself at a gym or, in another class. So we definitely challenge you. It's not just cardio too, right? Like you can attest to that. There's people think, oh yeah, it's just cardio. I want to come when I, in the summer when I really want to get toned. You're going to build some muscle.
For sure.
For sure.
Tell me about when you started the business, as we were talking about evolving through the process of starting as a boutique, doing the 6-week classes. What was like a point where you were like, was there ever a point where you felt like you failed?
Totally. Right before I started the 6-week program.
Tell me about it.
It was intense. Okay. So what was happening with my boutique was that there were other boutiques popping up, right? Some that were a lot fancier, some that were like almost the exact same thing that I was offering. And then also that month, my rent started to go up. Okay, so I was just in a pickle. And so I felt like I was backed into a corner and I just needed to get creative. And I was like, okay, what's going on that no one else is offering? Something that I really think we could offer. How can I bring in really cool instructors who have the same mindset as me? And how can we dive into this? Give them a killer workout. And at that time, it was like 4 days of the week. Give them a killer workout, but also provide nutritional guidance and feel like they're not alone. And so they pretty much had almost a personal trainer along with them, guiding them in their nutritional game, but also giving them a kick butt workout. And if they didn't show up to class, I would email them or give them a call if they didn't show up for the full week.
Some accountability.
Some accountability. So I'd be like, hey, I didn't see you in class this week. What's going on? And sometimes it was really heavy stuff, or sometimes they just needed that little kick in the butt and to be seen. And I really felt so good after those 6 weeks, and it felt like we were finally doing what we felt like we were doing something really cool in the community, right? I love Pilates. I love yoga. I will love it forever. I still do it. I perform it all the time. But it was a way to, I don't know, it just felt like something was right. Something clicked,
Just made sense.
It made sense.
Yeah.
But the lowest point was right before I decided to do that 6-week program, honestly. Like, it was tough.
You were like on the verge of just saying, maybe I should try.
Oh, I would cry every day. I would come home and I'd be like, I don't know if I got it in me. I didn't pay myself for the longest time, but I never skipped out on paying my instructors. I always did. But there'd be times where I just felt like, am I supposed to do this? You question yourself.
You do.
But then, you just fall into what clicks and what works. And this is us. This is truly who we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was there temptations? I mean, when I first met you being a Maloof, I've known the Maloof name since I was a kid, right? Because you just see the real estate signs you see. Is there a temptation for you, or was there a temptation for you to go back and be like, you know what, I'll just follow the family business and go back? Because none of your other family members are into fitness or have a gym or anything, right?
No one does. No.
So was that twofold question? Was that a temptation to just kind of follow the family path?
Not necessarily. For me, I think it's just my personality. Like, I'm going to go until they shut the doors on me. Like, I wouldn't, I'm not someone who was going to quit on it. I can be really down about it, but that's just me. Like, I decided to create something that will hopefully work. And thank God it did. But if it didn't, I would try something else until that point. But honestly, I never really thought about that. Like, but I did take on, when I first started Skull Mode, I did have another job. I did, and no one really knew about it.
Sure.
Because, you know, you got to make ends meet. You got to make it work. And
the customers at Long John Silver's knew.
I didn't. No, but I did marketing for Core Life Eatery, and I loved it. I love Core Life, but I was handling their marketing as well as leading a studio. But you got to do what you got to do until the point where you can say, okay, I'm going to focus on this full time.
Right.
Like, you just have to.
Right.
Because I was not going to quit. I would come home and cry, but I wouldn't quit. I'm not going to quit.
So true.
Yeah.
There was a point when after we started the business where I was making no money. Like everything was going out, nothing was coming in.
It's scary.
It's very scary. And when you're taking on employees and when you have a workforce, I will sacrifice everything and I will pay myself last every time.
Yes.
And then countless amounts of days and weeks will pass and you're just like, is this ever going to change? Am I just going to be an indentured servant to this business, right?
Yeah. But you can, it's that self-talk. Like, it's what happens after you leave the studio or after you leave work. It's like the drive home, like, what am I doing? Can I do this? Like, there's all of that. And
you're right.
Sometimes, obviously, even when people know about you or you've seen more success and you're finally, you know, seeing it work out, you still have those moments of self-doubt because there's a lot of pressure on you to make it work, you know? So, but you got to fuel your mind with the good stuff too, and that's what helps.
So true. It's good to start, once you understand how a small business operates and how, I've worked in several small businesses, and this is the first one I've ever been a part of, you know, the leadership of. It's really difficult you think you're in it alone until you start meeting other business owners and like, okay, all these people are doing the exact same thing.
Totally.
We're all just people representing a brand, pushing really hard to make something of it, right?
Yes.
And the more that I'm out in the community and meeting other business owners, the more consistent the stories you hear.
Totally.
Like,
you don't feel alone.
No. And you go to a restaurant and you shake the person's hand that either owns it or is a chef for it or something, and you're like, I just respect this so much more having been in your shoes, right?
But I also like the fact that you said that I'm part of leadership with. Like, I think that is really cool that you said that, and not a lot of people have caught that. But the fact that you lead amongst other leaders and you depend on your guys to lead their jobs, or
no question.
And you yes, you are the owner, but you work amongst people that you trust as leaders in and of themselves, and you strive to build other leaders. That's how I operate my business as well. My coaches are leaders; they're bosses, and I say we all the time. I don't ever like to really talk about me or I or me. It's us. We built this.
That's right.
We did this.
Let's dive into that. I mean, you've got 5 other trainers, right? Or is it 4 other trainers?
6.
6 other?
6.
6 total.
7 including myself.
6 plus 1 is 7. 5 plus 2,
Got it.
7.
Got it.
You've got 6 other girls besides yourself.
Yes.
And so you don't have to go through each one of them, but how did that kind of, because you started with just yourself at the beginning and you were working on Core Life, and then you just started to build organically. Was there a point where you hired several at a time, or did it start one kind of domino effect? How did that work out?
Yeah, so I actually had another instructor who is still with me today. We had yoga instructors. We had 2 yoga instructors when I first started the studio. Yeah. And one of my yoga instructors is still with me. We still do yoga. We're going to add more, I promise you. Whoever's listening who comes to Skullman, we're going to do more yoga, I promise. So, yeah, I started off with just 3. And then started the boot camp with 1 other person. So I had Stephanie Winter with me.
Yeah.
And
shout out Steph.
Shout out to Steph, my girl.
East Peoria reppin'.
Yeah. And then Carolyn was she was my first hire actually when we were at Sculpt Mode,
Love
the
that girl.
studio. Yeah. But she was pregnant at the time when we were about to do the boot camp. And so I think she came back and did it even while she had her baby in her belly.
Wow.
She was teaching. And of course, you know her now, so you can totally see that.
Totally makes sense.
But Stephanie and I, it was kind of our little baby, our brainchild. And we, she has different training than I had at the time. And so, and I, kind of knew the business, knew marketing. And so we started that out together. And then, and Carolyn was with us too. And then we slowly just started to grab people that were in our boot camps that we saw were like, just kind of stood out to me as leaders. And then I trained them into
trainers.
The boot camp trainers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Flip side to some of the hardest challenges you faced. Was there a moment where Scope Mode kind of turned a corner and you were like, okay, this is starting to kick butt. You're starting to see success. You're starting to see, you've kind of just turned from doubt into faith and pushed past that limit. Was there a point?
Yeah, I think it took me like 4 boot camp sessions
Of the 6-week programs?
Of the 6-week programs to then close the studio. And that was one of the hardest decisions I had to do. Not had to do, but I noticed that if we really just put in all of our efforts into Sculpt Mode, it would be something big. And it would really do something in our community. So it was pretty much a decision where I was having to teach a lot of the studio classes. And so that energy was going there, but I needed my energy to go into the boot camps. And it was a hard decision because that little space was actually so beautiful. And our yoga instructor, Janie, and Carolyn and I, we hugged it out. We had a moment in that studio where, that was our space, but they all understood. They all knew that Sculpt Mode was growing into this boot camp program.
It was evolving.
It was evolving. And so we had to say goodbye to that studio space and then go directly and just put all of my efforts into building this program and building Sculpt Mode boot camp.
So it's like leaving the past behind and going forward with the new.
Well, it's pivoting, you know, and I really never saw closing the studio as a failure.
Right.
I never did because we didn't necessarily fail. It was a choice to close the doors and just dive in. And I feel that I couldn't have given it my all if I didn't close the studio.
So you had to pivot from the studio into
just diving into Sculpt Mode boot camp,
which was at the Yard.
Which was at the Yard, Peoria.
So then you're not just renting a space; you're actually in business with other people, and not like your ownership of the gym or anything. What I'm talking about is like it was a different vibe than what the studio was.
Totally different vibe, yeah. So it was also rebranding, which is wildly difficult.
Because was it Sculpt Mode Boot Camp to Sculpt Mode Fitness?
So it was Sculpt Mode Fitness, which we were known for our Pilates, our yoga, our bar workouts. We were also known for like prenatal, postnatal workouts that we were coming out with because that was a huge part of what we were doing. And it was more of like mobility and things like that. And so when we had to rebrand and say, hey, try this new thing out we're doing. Oh, by the way, we don't do as much yoga or Pilates anymore. People thought we were still a yoga and Pilates studio, so they called about that. Or they would show up to class without any tennis shoes. And they'd be like, what is this? So we'd have to be like, you're in for it. So just the rebranding, restructuring, it was a huge challenge, but we were able to do it. Yeah, it just took some time and just education and videos and photography and marketing. And
re-educating yourself on what the business is, right? It's like
re-educating the public because the public knew us as one thing.
Yeah.
And we had to pivot and say, psych, we're leaning into this. That was hard. That was a challenge.
No doubt. Tell me about some of the personal victories you've had as a leader as you work through being a business owner and as you work through the challenges that you face and constantly just getting through those challenges. What's one of the biggest things as a person that you've learned that you can take to anything in your life because of this experience?
Like a specific experience?
Not necessarily specific. What's one lesson you've learned from running a business that you're like, as a human being now, I'm just better at this?
Honestly, I'm just, oh my gosh, that's a tough question. I think I've learned most about myself is that I can handle whatever comes my way. And it's made me tougher in other parts of my life, like just relationships, taking big steps or moving forward. Like if I can do this, I can do a lot of hard things. you know?
Grit.
Grit. Yeah. So does that answer your question, or
It
do you
does.
want a specific?
I feel the same way about actually doing the program.
Okay.
Seriously.
Cool.
Because there's a lot of hard stuff you actually have to walk through. And if you actually just get through that stuff and prove to yourself that you're like, this sucks, or this is really hard, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
It's building that mentality in your brain that things external to that one thing is possible, right?
Oh, 100%. And that's the whole goal behind it. Like to empower people to believe that, sorry, I'm going to cuss, but they're inner badass. Like each person that walks through the door and finishes a workout, we consider you just a complete badass, and to find that in you.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's a muscle you're working that it's the stick-to-itness, right?
Totally.
And it's really hard to develop in life because if you have so much stuff hitting on you at one time, sometimes you just feel like you want to go home and cry and go to bed.
Sure. Totally. And that's okay.
So many times at 5:30 in the morning, I love to force myself up at 5:30 to go to class because that in itself is super difficult.
It's so hard, especially in the wintertime.
So hard.
And you guys, our 5:30 a.m. is one of our most popular classes. And even through the winter, I don't understand how people love to come in the morning, like drive through the snow, through the yuck, and they show up. And I think it's because, just like what you said, they feel accomplished. They're ready to take on the day. They just finished something super hard before half their household wakes up.
Yeah.
The majority of their household wakes up.
Right.
And that's a cool thing. Like you said, the compounded effort makes you maybe work a little bit harder or take on more challenges or, believe in yourself a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Having a work-life balance is super difficult. Do you find, it's obviously more difficult being a business owner. What's one of the biggest things you've learned with time management as a business owner and having to build a life outside of your business? Because I'll just speak for myself personally. It can very quickly take over and encroach on every part of your life. So what's one of the keys that you've had to keep a good work-life balance and stay human throughout the process?
Well, sometimes giving yourself a cutoff time of when you're going to put your computer away and just like defrag and just be present is necessary. So it depends on the day too. Like if I have a deadline or if I have something coming up or I'm really, really behind, my family understands. And, I'll watch TV with them, but my computer's up on my lap. But giving yourself an adequate amount of time to say, hey, I'm going to be off my phone. I'm going to be off my computer by this time, and try to hit that every single night or at least a few nights of the week would be great. And then over the weekend, I don't do much social media because that emotionally takes a big toll on me. I know there are apps out there that you can schedule your social media. I get that. But I love the photos that they're in class that day. People can relate to those workout photos and videos that I post. And so I'm doing that every single day.
Right.
On the weekend, my brain just needs none of that.
Rest.
Yeah. So for me personally, social media is necessary, obviously, but it's a big drain on my brain.
Yeah.
So I don't do that as much.
Take a step back.
On the weekends.
There's people out there that have an idea and they want to start a business. So take yourself back 5 years, or how long's the business been in?
4 years now.
4 years. Yeah. Take yourself back 4 years before you even started. And just, if you were to give advice to that girl, to that woman,
good question.
What would you say?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, the advice I give to fellow business owners who are in this position, I try to mentor. I really do try to give them some good advice. And you can have a clear idea of what you want your business to look like, but guess what? It's going to change. And guess what? It's going to pivot and it's going to do all those things. But know that if you're not willing to give it your all for at least 3 years and really put all of your heart and soul into this and sacrifice, if you don't have that fire in you right now, you're not going to make it past a year. And I don't mean to sound negative, because it's not, but you got to have that passion, that drive, and that willingness to go through it, or else you're just going to waste your time. But what I would say, on a positive note, of course, because starting a business is positive, but I don't like to sugarcoat it. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't sugarcoat things when I'm talking to the people that I do mentor and coach through all of it. But I think the biggest thing that I would tell myself looking back is to just be authentic, truly.
Yep.
And yes, that's the fluffy version of it. Obviously, there's accounting that you need to know. There's all these other things that you should be educated on somewhat before you start your business, of course. LLC versus S Corp, all those things, right?
Yes.
But if you are authentic with what you are putting out there, and you really love what you're putting out there, you will succeed. You'll be just fine. I really believe that.
You might not succeed.
Okay.
You might fail. However, you did it on your own terms. You did it authentically.
But here's what I look at succeeding is if you try it. If you try it, you will just trying it, going for it.
Yeah.
That in my eyes, that's success to me. But you might not be profitable at the end of the day, right? But if you're authentic, people will see that and they will support it, hopefully.
That's so true. It's nothing ever worth doing nothing extraordinary was ever done without passion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Sarah Skolasky, the last person, she gave a very simple piece of advice that everybody talks about. She's awesome. But she said, find your passion. And like, that's such a thing, right? It's like, find your passion as a 22-year-old. You give college students advice. But it's so true.
Yeah.
This simple, solid advice, find your passion, be yourself, is so tried and true.
It is.
And there's a reason for it. Because when times get super tough, when I'm conflicted with questions and when I'm conflicted with really hard situations, it's like, go back to who you are. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to push you through. Don't try to be someone you're not.
No.
Every time I've tried to be someone that I'm not, I've failed really bad.
Totally.
Right?
100%. Absolutely. And she's so right. Find your passion. Just be authentic with it. And I think that's going to bring you the most happiness over life as well. Like going back to that passion, going back to the root of why you want to create a business.
So let's say somebody's out there right now. They're like, I want to start a business, Mish. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know what I want to do. How do I find myself? How do I find my passion? What's one piece of advice you give that person?
Honestly, try new things. Try things that you've never tried before. Depending on obviously if they don't have an idea of a business, but they just want to be entrepreneurs, there are a lot of cool things to read out there that can get you to be an entrepreneur without even having to do like the stuff that we do, like marketing and stuff. Like you can go on eBay, buy something, sell it. Like you can do fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to be an entrepreneur nowadays. Being what is it called? Multi-level marketing. There's so many ways to do that, but trying it. And there are so many things that I tried and I never stuck with. Like I've tried multi-level marketing. I've tried to sell Young Living. I tried to get into that, but I realized I love the product, don't love selling it, right? Mm-hmm. So I realized there was always something inside of me that wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I had to find my way. Mm-hmm. And then what else did I try to sell? I don't know what else. But I tried to sell multiple things. But there's just something in me that I wanted to help people. That was always the root of what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then the way I got into working out and personal training after college was I was doing these classes with bar. So it's something outside of my comfort zone to teach a class. I loved doing these classes, but it was outside my comfort zone to teach it. But I said yes to it, and I tried it, and I loved it. And then these girls in the class were like, can you come to my house one-on-one and do personal training with me? And I was like, okay. So I actually did that before I started Sculpt Mode. And I was able to even quit my full-time job just doing in-home personal training. So I didn't dive into that much, but I tried it. But it was going out of my comfort zone. So
it's so true.
I would say try things that are outside of your comfort zone. I know that sounds cheesy, but just keep saying yes to things and you'll find it.
That's very true, though.
Yeah. And I kept saying yes to it. And then I quit my full-time job and I was like, oh God, I got to really work at it. And usually like I said before, it's when I'm in a corner, I feel like I'm backed into a corner and I have to really perform. Mm-hmm. That's when something beautiful comes about.
Yeah.
Like I quit my full-time job and I swear like that week, 2 clients of mine were like, oh, I can't do it anymore. And I
Yeah.
was like freaking out because I made the Excel spreadsheet. I figured out exactly how many clients I needed to quit my full-time job. And 2 clients that same week quit on me.
Quit.
Yeah.
Who are those people? Let's shout them out right now. No,
Oh, okay. No, but you're going to have those ups and downs, but continue to work with it and just say yes to things that scare you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a long-winded version of it.
You're a Maloof. I forgive you.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
He has left to talk.
Yeah,
Right?
we do.
That's what I'm saying.
And use our hands. It's a lot for me to like be constricted with this microphone. I really want to talk with my hands right now. It's hard.
Every person I've met in your family is just very expressive and very.
God. That's the nice way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with my family. We're just there was a point in the very beginning where my friends pulled me aside and they're like, Ben, this business can't work on faith alone. And I was like, no, guys, it's going to happen. Because I had such a giant vision for our business that I was like, no, this is just how it's going to happen. I just know God's going to come through. I know this is going to, I just know. And they're like, Ben, faith's just not good enough for this. And time was like running out. Like budgets were running out. Time was running out. The Excel spreadsheet was going into the negative. And it's like, what are we going to do? Sure enough, like nick of time, like you said, it's almost like when you're backed into a corner, something amazing happens.
Yes. If you stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think there's a saying out there. Of course, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like just right before you're about to quit, that's when something really good happens.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, but a lot of people would quit in that position. They're like, oh, I'm gonna cut my losses.
I thought about it. It definitely, it crosses your mind, right?
Mm-hmm. But sometimes it is the right decision, but you got to make the right decision. But,
sure.
Yeah.
The dawn is darkest. The night is dark.
Darkest before the dawn.
There
right?
it is.
There you go.
Dark Knight, great film.
We can't. Just the quotes for us. Tonight. We just are not good with quotes.
The night is darkest before the dawn.
Before the dawn.
Bam.
Mm-hmm.
For someone out there that's in fitness or that's not in fitness, it's like, Mish, listen, I haven't done fitness in my life before.
Yeah.
Advice to that person.
Oh my gosh. Don't beat yourself up about it. That's number one. If it's always a bigger reason why you're not showing up for yourself. And that's fitness, that's like loving on yourself, taking care of your hair, your face, like any of that stuff, like taking care of yourself, period. Journaling, any of that stuff. There's a deeper reason why you're choosing not to. And let's dive into that a little bit. And that's a big part of why our program has really worked well is we dive into those things. Like our challenges weekly are not necessarily do 100 push-ups every day. One of our challenges in our 6-week program is you got to post one thing you love about yourself every single day.
Love that.
And it's one of the toughest challenges for our boot campers.
Why is that?
Why not? Why? Of course.
Why do we hate ourselves so much?
We're hard on ourselves.
Seriously.
We're so hard on ourselves. We're hard on ourselves because we're not doing something. We're hard on ourselves when we do something we're not good enough.
Yeah.
Like,
constantly comparing ourselves via social media, right?
And we want to kill that. And when you come to boot camp, honestly, we put you to work, but we give you weights that you're ready for. Mm-hmm. We're not going to throw 25-pound dumbbells in each hand when you show up. We're going to give you 5 pounds. We have 3 pounds. We have 2-pound weights that sometimes people use until they start building up. But honestly, just showing up for yourself and showing up to class, that's a success to us. Like you came, you showed up, if you have to leave in the middle of class, like because, you're just not feeling class today and it's not on your brain.
Done that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But the fact that you showed up and you gave 100% for 20 minutes, I'm here for it. And that's numero uno is like, what's the big reason why you don't want to do fitness? Because sometimes people laugh it off and they say like, oh, I'm not into working out. I would never work out. Like, that's hilarious. Okay. Well, why, what kind of aversion did you have to fitness that really turned you off to it? Or maybe they just feel like they don't need it in their life. And there's a lot of other reasons, but usually it's a little deeper and we got to go into that heart and that mind. But again, if you're not ready, then you're not ready. The only way that you're going to show up to class, you're going to show up to the gym, you're going to show up to the hairstylist is if you're ready to go. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You can't push and make anybody do anything they're not ready to do.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I think sometimes we're waiting for a moment. I think if I were to give a piece of advice to an entrepreneur, someone starting, we're waiting for a moment in time to tell us that we're ready to do something.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
We're waiting for like a God to shout down from the skies and be like, Ben, go do this. A lot of the times, a lot of the really important decisions that I've made in this business have been from just, I think this is the right thing and I'm just going to try it and go from there.
Yeah. A lot
One
of it is gut.
step in front of the other.
One step. That's all it is.
Go buy a website. It's the simple stuff first, then you just start to build momentum like a snowball.
100%.
Right?
It's exactly. That's exactly. I couldn't have said it better.
Mm-hmm. I think in fitness journeys, a lot of the same way. And I hadn't worked out for years, and I think when I first started going, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go. I'm going to look like probably a fool because I'm the only guy there, but I'm just going to do it.
No, what was so cool is I saw the athlete in you. Like, I knew that there was something in you because it was that competitive edge.
Yeah.
Maybe you were pushing yourself to the actual limit, but you were not going to quit
Hi, I'm
on
Ben.
yourself. Yes. But you can really tell a lot about yourself in your class.
Yeah.
Like, I could tell a lot from you just from showing up to class and how you push yourself. And you were definitely an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could tell. And, but that's why I think you might enjoy yourself a lot in class because you do push yourself and you're competitive with yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But also, the girls in class, they love to compete with Ben. They just,
Really?
oh my gosh. Well, they just call you out. Quinn calls you out all the time.
I love Quinn.
I know.
She's one of my favorites.
We love Quinn, but she always likes to push your buttons. She does. She's like,
yeah.
you know, we're all keeping up with Ben. Ben does these box jumps. It's like, you do like 4-foot box jumps.
Those aren't
You
4
flip
feet,
it on.
are they?
I think they're 4 feet tall.
There's no
The
way those are
tallest
4
one.
feet.
Yeah, you clear it. Andrew did it too.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got a video.
Shout out.
Shout out to Andrew.
I love to push myself, clearly. But I've also learned throughout this process of like, let's go back a step into like personal stuff. I think men, what we tend to do in stressful situations is we focus on external things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We go into either money making, we go into either substance abuse, we go into external things to deal with our inside issues, or working out. We always need something that we're doing on the external, and we never really dive deep into what's the real problem, like we were talking about. And I think fitness, something about doing something like that releases the ability to actually deal with stuff on the inside
Maybe.
in a really healthy way,
Yeah.
as opposed to something that's could be harmful.
Harmful to your body
Yeah.
versus something that's a little healthier.
Yeah.
Well, we've even had people just like cry after class or during class. Like it's
I
an
could see
actual
that.
emotional release
Yeah.
when it's biological. When you're working out and you have like a lot of stress, you have something going on and, you know, your body's releasing endorphins and it's, you know, you just feel all the pressure of the day and you just release it.
Yeah.
And we've had people that do just cry and that's okay. You know, that's also okay. But it is, you're releasing something on the inside that just has to come out. But maybe you're right. There's a lot of males that I see that more predominantly in males. I do see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think us men need help there in expressing our emotion.
Yeah, a lot
way
of-
deeper, but it's like
A lot do.
it is. It's true, and I think physical movement, and you got to think for. I read an article a long time ago where men or athletes, we play baseball or basketball, whatever sport it is, for your entire life. Yeah, whether you play till high school or until college, and then the moment after you graduate, you're done. You've built a team atmosphere. You've practiced something for years and hours and hours and hours, and
your
all of a sudden
life.
you go to zero, and you have no leagues, no nothing to go to, and it's like, what the heck do I do with my, right? And so that sense of accountability from your teammates, that sense of accomplishment through competition, vanishes overnight.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like, what do
so
we do?
hard.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what do? You either go to work and work really hard. You, like I said, external things. And so I think building some kind of culture inside a fitness place is super healthy.
Totally. It's so healthy.
Yeah.
It's better than drugs. Don't do drugs.
That's the clip I'm going to post to your Instagram.
Oh no. Just don't do drugs.
8 seconds.
Yeah. That's what this whole podcast is about.
So let's look to the future of Skullman. Yeah. You don't have to dive into specifics, but 5 years from now, what does Michy Maloof want to be known for?
Wow. That's a good question. So me outside of my
Actually,
business.
let me take this back a second. We'll do it twofold. Michy Maloof, 5 years from now, what do you want to be known for?
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to be known for the way I treated people and how I care about people.
Yeah.
But I also want to dive into multiple businesses. I want to have my hands in a little bit of everything. You know, that's how I want to move forward. You know, I want to be multifaceted. I love fitness and I love what I do in this community. But I'm a multifaceted person. So
you're not just Sculpt Mode.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I love what Sculpt Mode has brought to this community, and I love the momentum it has and what it's done for people, and that's my true heart.
Yeah.
To give back and to do good. So I want people to know that about me. But in 5 years, I want to be just multifaceted in multiple businesses and just rocking and rolling.
Serial entrepreneur.
I would like that, yeah. Yeah.
Does your brain just never stop with ideas and creation and marketing and things to do and places to go?
Yes and no. I have a lot of big dreams and big goals. And sometimes it gets muddy on how to get there because I'm that person that, yes, I have a lot of ideas going all the time and different ways to do it, but there's only so many hours in the day.
That's right.
I got to turn off at some point. But right now, my baby is Sculpt Mode and the growth of that. And we are going to see a lot of growth in 2021, which is such a blessing coming off of the crazy year we had in 2020. But we are growing and some exciting things are happening. But that's my focus right now, and I have to be hyper-focused. But it is hard to shut my brain down a lot. Most nights. It's hard to shut my brain down. Yeah. But, you know, actually movement or being outside, that's how I actually, like, calm down. Like, coming up, 70 degrees out outside.
Yeah.
The fact that I was stuck in a meeting, like, all day, I was like, I need to play outside. I need to be outside because that's, like, my release. Like that, just being outside.
So true.
Calms me.
A couple days ago, we started our first roof in the spring, and from a 2-month hiatus of not doing anything.
Sure.
And I felt like I was a little kid in a candy shop, like inspecting the roof and the underlayment and talking to the guys and actually putting nails through shingles. It's like, it's an exciting thing. I never thought in my life I'd be excited about constructing something.
Yeah.
Right. But I love personally the process of before and after. My brain very much works that way. It's like redemption. It's before and after. It's change. It's coming from something that's not cool to cool. I love that. Yeah. I love the process of taking something original and making it something brand new.
Well, you're in the right biz.
Oh man.
You're doing
With
it.
all the challenges that there is, it's part of my nature, and so it's really finding out who I am as a human being through this business and kind of developing that. It's been really fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've done such a great job in such a small amount of time. So huge.
One day at a time.
Proud of you.
Proud of you.
Thanks. Proud of us.
So, look at us.
Thinking we're gonna cry. Need tissues.
So, it's nearing the end. What is one thing you'd like to leave? Let's dive into this. Peoria, Illinois is a small city. It's not Chicago. What's one legacy thing? Let's say look future on the road. Legacy thing, Mish, that you say that this is what I want to leave my mark on in this city.
That I change people's lives for the better. In some way, shape, or form. That, what Sculpt Mode brought to people's lives made them feel better and made them stronger and just better people. That's what I want to leave behind. I want to help people be their best selves and most badass selves. That's what I really want to do.
You're doing it.
Thanks.
So keep going.
Okay.
Don't stop.
Okay. Okay. You too.
Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
I respect you as a human being and as a business owner and as a local Peorian. And
thank you.
It's been an awesome friendship that I've gotten to know you over this time frame. And I truly respect what you have going out there and what it's going to turn into.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You too. This
So
has been so fun.
It has been. Until next time, this is the Tiger Den Podcast. Michy Maloof signing out.
Bye. That was good. Oh, do I need to not talk?